YouTube connected. Listwithelizabeth.com. Status connected. Facebook Live connected. Rumble connected. Twitter X connected. LinkedIn connected. This is the booth. We are cleared to go live. Send the signal to the studio and go live.
List with Elizabeth show, ready to go live in 3, 2.
When you think selling and buying a home, when I think real estate, I think List with Elizabeth. Elizabeth Klein. Elizabeth and Klein. And here's the host of the List with Elizabeth show, Elizabeth Klein.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the List with Elizabeth show. I am Elizabeth Ann Klein, your host, local realtor in the Northern Virginia area, servicing all of Northern Virginia. If you are in the area and you ever have questions about selling or buying a home, please feel free to reach out. Give me a call at 703-829-LIST. If you are elsewhere in the country and you would like a seasoned professional agent to help you buy or sell a home, also feel free to reach out to me and I will connect you with a professional in your area. The best thing you can do is get connected with a top-notch agent, just like anything else in life. Remember when you were a kid and you were going through school and you might have liked first grade, but you didn't like second grade, but you really loved third grade because it depended on your teacher, right? You're still going to school. You still got to learn stuff, but the person guiding you, the person teaching you, the person taking you through those lessons really makes a difference. You got to make sure you have a professional by your side. Best tip I can give you if you're going to buy or sell a residential home. Thank you all for joining me once again. I really appreciate all of your feedback. Please keep the likes coming, keep the subscribes coming. Feel free to comment below. I'm more than happy to get back to everyone's questions that you might have about the show. Or again, just feel free to call. Happy to jump on a call with you and chat real estate anytime. So today, this show is for sellers. This show, we're going to talk a little bit about the basics of prepping a home for sale. And believe it or not, there are some nice tips that I can provide. Now, each house, of course, is going to be a little bit different. But one of the things we're going to start with in this show is basically decluttering. Okay, so step number one is decluttering. What do I mean, honestly, by decluttering? Okay, if you've ever visited a new home, model home at a builder, and you walk into that home, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about seeing a space that looks beautiful, that creates emotion, where you're like, ooh, that's pretty. Oh, I like this. Oh, look at this room. You want to basically remove all of the items from the home that take away from people seeing the actual home. So if you have a lot of papers piled up on your countertops, or you have an excessive amount of books shoved onto your bookcase, these are the things we want to start weeding out and pulling out of the home. One of the services that I do provide for all of my listing clients is, as I go in to the home, I will walk with you room by room and we will talk about each room and what items you can think about removing for purposes of the sale. So another way you can sort of think about this is think about if you have any personal items around the home that you wouldn't see if you walked into a model home. Those are things you should pull down, like your high school diploma or maybe some wedding pictures. Anything also religious, I would remove, because when people come into the home, you want them to feel like this could be their home. If they're seeing things that make them feel like, oh, I'm in someone else's house and I'm just looking around, it's a different feeling than, ooh, this could be my home. So, those are some of the rationale behind why you want to remove some of those things. Now, of course, I've walked into homes that have not done that. I've had some sellers that have not done that. This, again, these are general guidelines, a good rule of thumb to follow. Doesn't mean you have to follow everything perfectly, but decluttering is definitely a nice thing. It also opens the house up. So, another thing we kind of mean by decluttering is, let's say in the living room, um, the room is best suited for possibly a love seat and an armchair and a coffee table. And when we go into the living room, the way you've been living in it, maybe there was an oversized sectional and two armchairs and two coffee tables. And it worked for you, but it's not necessarily going to highlight the flow of the house. So there's a lot that falls under this category. I just want you to start thinking and have your wheels start to spin about how other people perceive your home when they come into it. And a good little tip, something that you can do, is take your camera, go to each room in your house and take 4 pictures, one from each corner. And look at how the room shows up on camera. You'll see different things through the lens of the camera that you won't see as you just go through your house. There's so many times I walk into a house and I may say, gosh, what's going on with that light bulb? Or what happened up here in the ceiling? And the sellers go, "Oh, I have no idea. It's been out for so long. I forgot it was out. I got used to seeing it that way." Or the ceiling's been like that for so long, we don't even notice it anymore. So take your camera, go through the house, take a picture from each corner and look at it. Ask a friend, "Hey, what do you see in this picture? What would you remove? What looks awkward to you?" So those are just some tips for decluttering. Okay, moving on. Tip number 2 is cleaning. Kind of goes along with decluttering, but I'm actually talking Mr. Clean, Ajax, fantastic cleaning in this circumstance. So, case in point, I have a listing that will be hitting the market soon. It is going to be sold as is, meaning the kitchen is extremely old. Some of the cabinets have actually the doors have actually fallen off the cabinet. Nothing's been updated. And I saw it the other day before it was professionally cleaned. And it has now been professionally cleaned. Went back today to view the house. It looks like an entirely different house. What a difference. Not only visually, but also the smell is fresh. It has that crispness to it, that new car smell, right? So cleaning does a lot of things for the house outside of just the purpose of cleaning. So you want to clean all surfaces, including countertops, tables, and floors. Dusting as well, guys. There's so many times there's dust on top of ceiling fans on the blades. People forget to get up there, wipe that stuff off because you can see it build up on the side of the blade if you're standing below looking up. So many times that's how I actually evaluate the ceiling fans in people's houses. Also, another spot that's missed a lot is the vents. They get lines of dust and they can be extremely thick. You've got to go in there and clean that goop out. Again, you're probably used to seeing it that way. You don't really look at that kind of stuff much when you're living in the house, but these are things you want to start to pay attention to because remember, you're now getting in the mindset of, hey, I'm going to be a seller. I'm putting my home on the market. There's different things I'm going to do now than I may have done when I was living here. All of the bathrooms, please, deep cleaning, toilets, showers, sinks, kitchens, inside all the appliances, inside the refrigerator. Also be mindful of what you have in the refrigerator. Sometimes when buyers come in to view a home, they are going to open the refrigerator door. They're going to open closet doors. They're going to open cabinet doors. So think about, Do you have a 6-pack of beer in there and a half-eaten sandwich? I mean, what message are you sending, right, about what kind of homeowner you were based on what they're going to see inside of your refrigerator, inside of your cabinets, inside of your closets? So be mindful. Just start thinking about this stuff. There's no right or wrong way to sell a home, but there are better ways to present a home than others. Mirrors, make sure there's no fingerprints or toothpaste marks or anything like that on the mirrors. Scrub those clean. Sweep and vacuum your floors. Mop, steam clean your carpets if you're not going to replace them. The number one thing you can do is also remove wallpaper. I know that you may love your wallpaper, but the market typically does not love wallpaper. I actually love wallpaper, believe it or not. And I do have some wallpaper in my home that I would be heartbroken over removing if we were to sell our home, but I would. I would, because I would listen to my own podcast, right? And take my own advice. So it's hard when you're in the driver's seat. But yes, wallpaper is one of those things that you can hire someone to come in, and they can, sometimes painters can actually paint over the wallpaper. Other times they will need to remove it and then paint the wall, maybe repair and then paint the wall. Absolutely positively worth it. The photos will look nicer. The space will look bigger. It's not going to turn anybody away with the patterns or whatever it is on that wallpaper. So these are, again, just some things you can do. Going back to bathrooms, you want to also, especially on photo day, make sure all your toiletries are removed and everything is sparkling clean and nice. So in the shower, yes, take out your bar of soap, take out your shampoo bottle, take out your razor, put it under the cabinet if you need to. It's better under there than sitting out in the open. And same tip here, take your camera and just take a couple shots of your bathroom. See what it looks like with these items out, and then remove them. Take another shot and see what it looks like with these items removed. It is such a difference. So again, just a couple quick tips to get your mind thinking, to help you to start to realize what you're going to need to do to prep your home for sale. All right, moving on. Staging. Staging is one of my, probably the most fun part of my job. I love seeing a house go from being lived in to being staged and ready to photograph. It is so exciting. So staging to me means a couple different things depending on your situation. If you're going to be living in the home while you sell it, we may just do what's called a staging consultation, where I would come in and again, go room by room with you and tell you for each room what you should do as far as staging. The other way that it is sometimes done is, let's say you have a lot of nice furniture, but some rooms are empty, or you just need some supplemental stuff brought in. That's sort of like a partial stage where we would supplement items in and weave them in amongst what you have. And then the last one would be if the home is already vacant, we can virtually stage it or full on stage it. So let's pretend you're living in the house and you'd like to sell. I'm going to chat with you about some quick tips for how to make your house look the best as far as staging. So let's talk about closets. If you open your closet door and it is stuffed to the max, like most people's closets, you want ideally that closet to be at 50% capacity. It will make the closet appear larger. So when people open the door, it's going to look more spacious. It will also help the door open better, because in some circumstances, right, clothes are kind of pushing out on the hanger and you're kind of pulling on the door, and it just doesn't make the house feel good or feel very workable. So aim for that 50%. So a nice tip is, let's say right now we're in summer. You could take all of your fall and winter clothes and pack them away. So that you could already have packed, just leave your summer stuff out. It's stuff you're going to use. And that's an easy way to kind of thin out the closet. Okay. Tip two, tongue-tied, tip two is, you would ideally want to have solid color comforters on all of the beds. I've been in so many houses that have stripes and polka dots and floral patterned, and some don't even have comforters. They just have kind of an old blanket, pulled across the bed. That is going to destroy your photos. Do not skip this step. If you have to, go out to Home Goods, go out to Macy's, go out and buy a nice white fluffy comforter, fresh and crisp, and put it on your beds for the selling of your home. Um, please don't skimp on this. It really does make a big difference. And if people don't like the pictures, they're not going to come to the house. So all of this feeds into essentially getting you the very, very best price. So solid colored comforters. And additionally, in each bathroom, you'd like to put out brand new hand and bath towels to hang in all of the bathrooms. Don't use the old ones you've always been using. Don't use the crusty ones. Don't use the faded ones. Don't miss this step. Again, I know you're used to seeing certain things in your house, but you need to shift your mindset just a little bit because you're preparing it for sale. We need to alter that. These are not expensive things to do, but they will pay off. Another thing I like to tell sellers is you might want to just put a couple plugins, Glade plugins, something like that around the house. Nothing too perfumey or whatnot, but just to give it that nice, fresh scent, nice atmosphere. All of your small rugs on the floor. Let's say in the kitchen, you have like a small rug to stand on in front where you do your dishes, or you may have some in the bathroom for after you come out of the shower. All of those need to come up. Pull them all up off the floor because those small rugs actually, they make the rooms chopped up in photos. So when you're photographing for sale, you want to show, hey, I have big rooms. I have beautiful hardwood floors, or I have whatever you have. You don't want little rugs here and there to make it look like a quilted pattern. It really ruins the lines of the room. So all the small rugs, pull those up off the floor, tuck them away, or throw them out if they're old and you don't need them anymore. We already talked about removing toiletries from all of the bathrooms. And another thing that you can do, if you can do it, is remove any oversized furniture. Sometimes people have pieces that were handed down to them, or they just liked a really big, oversized, fill in the blank, whatever it is. It is best to pay to have those removed because, again, the space of the house is going to look so much bigger, so much more roomy. And it really can make a difference when people get there and they're looking around and they're feeling that space out to have those very big oversized items. Just remove them. You can rent a pod and have them put in there temporarily. Maybe you can store them at a friend's house. If you really don't want them anymore, you could potentially sell them. But I would work through getting those items out of the home. Okay, so those were some tips for staging. Now we're going to move on a little bit. I want to talk to you about the showing schedule. Oh, sorry. Photos is next. Next, I want to talk to you about photos. Skipped right over that. Okay. When your day comes for photos, most likely, if you're working with me, of course, we will have professional photographers on the scene to photograph the house. I do not do that. I do a lot of things well, but professional house photography is not one of them. So we will have professional photographers come out. Couple things I want sellers to know is that the photographers are not there to direct you or to help you put any finishing touches on that house. That's my job. That's your job before photo day. So please don't call an hour before photos and say, hey, we're not ready. We're going to go room by room and just move stuff around. No. That's not how it works. Your home has to be ready top to bottom. Just as if a buyer was going to walk in there and look at the home, that's how it needs to be the day the photographer comes in. So a couple tips for this. Please remove all of your vehicles off of the property. No cars or trucks, no motorcycles in the garage or in the driveway. Pull them off, get them out of the property because, again, with these photos, we want to be able to show the house, the driveway, all the space, the garage space, etc. Have the lights turned on in every room. Every light that you have, put it on. Put on the lights under the cabinets in the kitchen. Put on the lights that are attached to your ceiling fans. Put on all the lights in the closets. Light, light, light is what we want to see. So when in doubt, light it up. I could not think of something to rhyme there. So there you have it. When in doubt, light it up. All your curtains and blinds, open them, please. We do not want dark rooms. We don't want to highlight the curtains. I'm sure they're lovely curtains, but we want to have it open so that the photos come out the best. Please make sure light bulbs are working in every fixture and that they match across fixtures. So again, sometimes when you're in the house, you get used to seeing something a certain way. So if you have 3 white light bulbs and 1 yellow, you may not notice it, but again, that's why you're watching this video, to help you start to think of things that you may have missed otherwise. When we photograph a home and a light bulb is out in a fixture, it makes the photos look really bad. Please don't skip this step. If you do have ceiling fans, leave them off. Do not turn them on because, again, with the photos, we want them to be still. Please remove garbage cans from every single room. Kitchens, bathrooms especially. A lot of times people forget they leave their toilet plungers or their toilet scrubbers tucked. They're kind of pushed behind the commode, but you will see those in certain angles of the bathroom shots. So just anything in the floor and bathrooms, lift it up and take it out of the room. So including the garbage cans. This is a big one, guys. Please make sure the toilet seats are down. Enough said on that one. Make sure your beds are nicely made. If you have any pets, please remove any and all signs of pets accessories, doggy beds, kitty toys, whatever it may be. Please pack all of that away and make sure your sweet little pet also is secure and packed out of the way when the photographer gets there. Those are pretty much my highlighted tips for photos. All right, so now we're going to move on to the showing schedule. When your home gets listed for sale, 9 times out of 10, what's going to happen is that you're going to be given an option, if you're still living in the home, from your agent to receive notice when a showing request comes in. So basically, your listing is going to go up onto online, and when buyers identify that this is a house they'd want to see, they're going to contact their realtor, and then their realtor goes on and books an appointment. So these appointments typically run anywhere from 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. in the morning till usually 9 p.m. at night. So sellers out there, if that does not work for you, please let us know in advance. We can block off time frames. So for example, sometimes people say, hey, Elizabeth, I don't get out of the house till 11 o'clock, but showings can go through 9 p.m. no problem. So we need to adjust the showing calendar on the back end. Once the calendar is set the way you'd like it to be, and best thing is to be give as much flexibility as you can. Try not to block off too many time frames because, again, you're trying to sell your house. This is a temporary living situation you're in. Just give it your best shot. So once we have the listing up, you can choose whether you receive a text alert or an email alert or both as to when a showing is requested. If you would like to have control over confirming or declining those showings, that is possible. Or you can just say, I'm good with whatever, I just need some notice. So we may set the schedule to say, okay, showings can come in anywhere between 11 a.m. and 9 p.m., but it will at least have a 1-hour notice. Because sometimes agents will get a call, buyers' agents will get a call from their buyers, and the buyers will say, oh my gosh, this house just hit the market. This is right down the street from me. Can you meet me there in a half hour? And the buyer agent will then go to the showing schedule. And if we have that 1-hour buffer window, the quickest they could book it is for an hour later. So you as the seller would at least have a 1 hour heads up. We can also do longer if needed. So there's many, many, many different ways to set your showing schedule. And again, we'll discuss that at your listing appointment and make sure whatever is set is what works best for you. If the house is vacant, then a lot of times we don't need to coordinate as much. We can just do what's called a go and show, which means the buyer's agent puts in the request and wants to go, and then they show. So it's very easy. But different things with that. Sometimes people ask me, Elizabeth, will you be at the house for all the showings? No, it's really just not possible. It's not feasible. That's why there's a buyer's agent. So the buyer's agent will attend with their clients. They will access the house through the lockbox, which is hung usually on the front door. Once they're in the home, if any lights are off, they'll probably turn them on, and we do ask them to leave the home in the same way that they found it. So if you prepared your house and put all your lights on, which is great, you should do that, and then you left for the showing, they're probably going to leave all the lights on. They may not. It just depends. Please follow up after each showing and make sure that the buyer's agent didn't miss locking any back doors or doing anything that, you weren't happy with. We cannot not ultimately control how the buyer's agent leaves the house, but there is a nice protocol within our industry of professionalism that it is left in the condition it was found. Buyers should be asked to remove their shoes or use shoe covers, not to track in any mud or dirt, that kind of thing. But I, as a listing agent, would not be there for showings typically. All right. I think that's all I wanted to cover on showing schedule. Let's move on to conveying items. So items to convey, this is basically an area that it's a little bit of a gray area. That's why I do want to touch on it. So when you sell your home, there is a short checklist within the contract that's going to ask you, are you leaving your refrigerator? Yes or no. Are you leaving your stove? Yes or no. But then there's this whole area of, let me call it miscellaneous, that a lot of times sellers want to leave behind, and it could potentially be an issue for the buyers. So what I mean by these items are things like lawn supplies. Let's say the seller has extra, I don't know, weed killer or something, fertilizer. They have an old lawnmower. These are items sometimes the seller thinks, ooh, the buyer would love this stuff. I'm just going to leave it. That's not always the case. So as you're preparing to sell your home, again, just start thinking about things like this. Would I want to take or leave behind X, Y, or Z? A lot of times paint comes up in this category, right? You might have some old paint cans, and if they're really old, probably the buyer does not want them. Paint does go bad after a time. It's a pain to dispose of it. So you may want to plan to remove those items. Sometimes sellers have extra hardwood floor boards or tile that they've used, but if the new buyer is planning to redo the floors or demolish the kitchen and put in a brand new kitchen, they may not want to be left with these additional items. So please communicate to me if you are listing your home with us. Hey, Elizabeth, these are the things we think might be helpful for the buyer, because we do need to indicate that in the listing just to clarify and prevent problems from coming up the day of closing. I remember clearly there was a day I had the buyers and we were doing our final walkthrough. It was just hours before settlement, before closing. And we walked into the garage of the home and the sellers had left some storage shelves. I thought they were nice. Buyers did not want them. They said they are not going to closing until everything in that garage is moved out. And there were not a lot of items. Thankfully, we were able to remedy that pretty quickly. But that's just one circumstance where two parties just had different ideas as to what might work, what might not work, and they collided, and it was going to cause a problem. You cannot force buyers to walk to the closing table, sit down and sign. I cannot do that. Nobody can do that. So what we want to do is make it so that that is not even an issue. So again, items to convey, please just make sure you talk to your listing agent about that. Okay. And then the last tip I definitely want sellers to know and understand is that we want to talk a little bit about square footage. So in Virginia, the tax record square footage will automatically populate onto your listing. And a lot of times it does not include anything below ground. So if you have a basement, I need to go down and measure that basement and add it to your square footage in the listing. But please understand that the tax square footage is still going to appear in the listing, even if I add in the lower level stuff and then the final numbers on there. It gets very confusing online for buyers, for sellers. It's even for me sometimes. I don't like the way this is done. And so I just want to point out that this is a little bit of a quirky area, especially in Virginia. But basically, if we fill out the entire listing in its completion, you're going to see the following fields. You're going to see above ground finished square footage, below ground finished square footage, and there's also below ground unfinished square footage. If we add those three together, that's where you get total square feet. So sometimes as buyers, if you go online and you're looking at square feet, you may be looking in one of those three subcategories and not the total. Or it's possible the listing agent did not fill in the below ground finished or unfinished square feet, which makes the tax record square footage incorrect. Very confusing. I just wanted to bring it to everyone's attention. If you have questions on your specific house, give me a call. We will figure it out. Also, our team does the 3D virtual tours, which blueprints out every single room of the house. It blueprints out the levels and gives the square footage of each room. So we will make sure your listing is done perfectly, but a lot of times listings are not done perfectly, and it causes a lot of confusion amongst the buyers and the sellers. So that is enough for today. I hope that this helped you put your mind into a little bit of a different spin so that you can think about your house in a different way and prepare your home for sale. Thank you so much for joining me once again. Elizabeth Klein, residential specialist in Northern Virginia, helping people buy and sell homes every day and loving it. Thanks for joining in. Again, feel free to subscribe. Send me any comments that you like. I will respond to them, and please like, and we will see you on the next show.